A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. Now, in today's newspaper, we really don't have anything new. Most of it has been already covered. So, first of all, we'll be starting with the Chandrayaan 3. You must be aware that the launch took place yesterday. Besides this, Prime Minister Modi is in France, then he will go to the UAE. So, with reference to France, what were the key outcomes of this visit? We know they are talking about the Rafale M jets, the marine version of the Rafale aircraft. And besides this, the Scorpion submarines, plus certain other things like, UPI and all those things. Okay. Uh, then floods, the rehabilitation is going on. That is efforts to normalize the situation. And some places rescue operations also. So we can take it as disaster management GS3 as well as case studies. Now, there is a very good opinion today in the newspaper about the extreme weather events and how the vulnerability with reference to floods can be removed. So, we get some pointers for our mains answer writing GS3. Environment disaster management are part of your GS3. Now, coming to the front page, so you can see the images of the Chandrayaan 3 launch. Now, very quickly, what was the Chandrayaan 3? So Chandrayaan 3 is basically a mission of establishing soft landing on the south pole of the moon. So that is the idea. Chandra means moon. Okay, soft landing. And what will be achieved by landing? They will release a rover mission, right? So robotic kind of thing which will move on the surface of the moon. It will collect data and send it back to ISRO. Now here the working has been given. So this rocket, this Chandrayaan 3 is based on a launch vehicle. First of all, it has to leave the surface of the earth. It has to leave the orbit of the earth, enter the orbit of the moon and then land. So for that, we need a rocket or a launch vehicle. So in this case, the launch vehicle is LMV3. So it has been done on the LMV3 rocket, which is a variety or a kind of the GSLV kind rocket or launch vehicle. GSLV is Geostationary Launch Vehicle. Now ISRO has two types. So mainly two types. One is the PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. It is for lesser load, lesser weight, lesser distance, while GSLV for heavy capacity. And the key differentiator with the GSLV is that it has cryogenic engine. So it has a cryogenic stage, that is liquid hydrogen and oxygen. Liquid gases are there. So this is a very difficult technology to establish. Now let us look at the GSLV or the LMV3 type launch vehicle. What all types of engines are there? This can be important for your prelims. So it has a 3-stage engine. So first stage is solid rocket boosters. So solid fuel is there. Then there is liquid stage and then cryogenic stage. So these three things are there. And at the top, we have the payload, the thing that has to be delivered. In this case, the lander and rover. Okay, so this thing goes at the escape velocity, escapes the orbit of, it doesn't really escape the orbit, but it orbits around the Earth. So it keeps orbiting like a catapult. So once the velocity is achieved, it is thrown into the orbit of the moon. And again, it starts to do the same thing. And here it will release the lander and rover. Okay, so this was about the Chandrayaan 3. Now coming to the France, Prime Minister Modi's visit to France. So Bastille Day parade took place. Now we know we have already talked about Rafale M and the Scorpion submarines. Besides this, launch of India's UPI in France. Marseille is one of the cities to get an Indian consulate. Military platforms for friendly countries will be established by India and France. So more defense-related cooperation. There is a plan for developing helicopter engines. Then maintenance, repair facilities. MROs are maintenance repair organizations. These are basically for aviation sector. Now, India wants that MRO should be in India. Maintenance, repairs of aircraft, etc. should take place in India. It should be a hub. So France will be having the technology. France has this famous company known as Airbus. So it has a robust uh, aviation sector. So that expertise can come to India. We have the manpower, we can do it. We have the land, we have resources. So MROs can come to India. MRO facilities in India. Pact between Indian oil and total for LNG supply. And Indian students to visit, Indian students, French students coming to India, all that. Okay, so this was about the France. This was about Chandrayaan 3. Moving on. We'll just highlight the issues now with reference to the floods. More of it will be on the floods. So water supply affected. So I think this is about the capital, parts of capital. Okay. So we'll just scroll through, not covering it. So same things are there repeated from the front page. So floods. Flood is a man-made disaster. The problem is a man-made disaster, says Peck professor. Now, why do we say that it is a man-made disaster? This is something that we can look at it from means point of view. Even essay paper. So natural disaster or man-made. So floods will take place. That is nature. But management of the flood is man-made. And further, people living in the flood-prone areas, this is again a man-made issue. Then improper management of the drainage system, poor planning. So all that makes it a man-made disaster. So every year we have data about the floods. Still, these things happen. We are having more and more worst experience. So all the states are affected. Shimla is saying that now we are affected by, will be bounce back soon, and winters we will have a tourist season. So all everything about the floods. Okay, this is again about the France. Three pillars as basis. India and France draw road ahead. So they'll be dealing with defense. Again, defense is Rafale jets and P-75 program, the space program. So there will be finalization of joint Earth observation satellite known as Trishna. Right, so Trishna. Then the constellation of maritime surveillance satellites. So maritime surveillance satellites and protection of Indo-French satellites in the risk of collision. So there is one Earth observation satellite, Trishna, constellation of maritime satellites for maybe kind of regional surveillance, so something like that in the Indian Ocean region, and the risk of collision to be looked into. Then counter-terrorism, India's National Security Guard and France's corresponding agency, GIGN. Then works on critical technologies like supercomputing, quantum computing, artificial intelligence. Both countries will work. Now here again, I think from mains point of view, supercomputing. In fact, from prelims also you can see which is the fastest supercomputer, some basic ideas. So supercomputing and quantum are the emerging topics. AI is quite outdated these days, going by how much of it is in the news. Quantum and supercomputing is the bigger deal. Plastic pollution, health, diplomacy. So yeah, so research, all these things are there on which they are working. Chandrayaan 3 will give a quantum leap to India's role in global arena and world watching. Why? Why is it giving? First of all, achieving soft landing of a rover. So that is significant. Very few countries have been able to do it. India, China, USSR. Next, next is we are doing it in the difficult area, South Pole of the moon. So this showcases India's capability. In fact, most of the launches have taken place on the equator region of the moon, and that to the Earth facing, which has a plane surface. South Pole area is much more difficult. Then India's ability of low cost launches. So India is becoming a preferred thing for launching satellites because of preferred destination because of the low cost and high guarantee of doing a successful launch. Even NASA is getting things from us. Okay, so these are some of the benefits besides in this showcase India's efforts towards moving towards research and exploration. Previously, we were focusing on launches mainly concerning applications of space, but here it's about space exploration. So tomorrow we'll be doing it on Venus. We want to send Indian astronauts to space, which is the Gaganyaan mission, right? So all these will get an impetus with this successful launch, and not just successful launch, but also the lander and rover thing being successful. Coming to the editorial and opinion section. So this is the article I was telling you, the living with deluge. So floods issue. Besides, I don't have today anything more on the editorial and opinion section. So basically, we are getting some pointers for flood management over here. So first of all, it is saying ensure that drainage exists and work. So he's not even talking about ensure maintenance of drainage. He says ensure drainage exists. What does it mean? It means that there are small rivulets, rivers which are not flowing for a number of years, but if there are a lot of water that is there, then these will get filled. So rivulets, rivers, chores. So ensure that they exist. If people are living them, rehabilitate them, move them elsewhere. So that is the first point. Whenever we see excess floods taking place, it is through these areas. Wetlands, lakes, drainage to lakes also. Okay. Second, maintenance of drains also we can talk, right? So part of it, maintenance of drains. Besides this, storage of excess water, integration of drainage, storage, integration of drainage, water supply and wastewater systems to store intense rains. So rainwater harvesting, something like this. And also recycle wastewater. So recycling of the wastewater, so that whatever water is wasted, that can also be recycled. Now this is part of, this can be a topic, separate topic, that is grey water policy, need for it. Grey water is the wastewater that is recycled. Then what can we do? This is a personal problem that I face is roads. So every time road construction takes place in cities, you must have experienced. So this was the level of the road. New road is built, so it is built on this. Then again a road is built. So the height of the road keeps increasing, while your houses are there in the adjoining areas. Houses are there on both sides. So what happens is the height of the floor keeps increasing because of the raise in the road, rise in the height of the road. So the water eventually floods into our houses. So this has to be looked into. In the city of Patna, because all this news was going on, so in the city of Patna, there is a policy such it should be ensured that when new road is constructed or repaired, the level should not increase. Now, very good term, greening cities and using blue, green, gray infrastructure. So greening cities mean having more green areas. Green areas help storage of water. It breaks the flow of the water. It allows percolation of water into the soil. So all that green areas means soil is also there. So having parks, etc. Now blue, green, gray infrastructure. So I'm referring to a different site now. Blue, first of all, green infrastructure. Green infrastructure refers to parks, green roofs, vertical and horizontal gardens. Vertical gardens means an apartment is there, so with the wall, vertical garden. Horizontal means normal parks, etc. So this thing. Then blue is with reference to water. So blue infrastructure refers to features of urban planning which are designed to benefit both the quality and quantity of resilient provision of water supply. Now here we can have lakes, drainage, all those things can also be part of this. And what is gray infrastructure? Cement, concrete. Okay, so this has to be worked into. And here you can also refer to that we are living in concrete jungles. Besides this, reducing flood vulnerability. There are people living along riverbanks, low-lying areas, unstable slopes. These areas should be mapped, and people who are living should be moved to elsewhere areas because these are more vulnerable. And one more thing to say, people who are living over here are actually the people who are most vulnerable. So socio-economic status of these people are actually not very, very good. So if a disaster takes place, they are the first ones to face the brunt. Next, improving early warning systems. So these are the important things that have to be done. And here again, we can refer to one more thing, early warning systems. It is about radars, satellite communication. Besides this, mathematical simulations, right? Based on all the data that is collected, simulations, creating simulating models so that the people on the ground have much better idea, policymakers also, in case of weather events, extreme weather events, which areas will be affected, what will be the outcome, so they can better prepare. So use of statistical data. So that can be part of your early warning system. So this was written by a scientist, former scientist, if you remember, Ministry of Earth Sciences. There is a critique yesterday, the day before yesterday, the European Union Parliament had raised concern about the issues of Manipur and very strong remarks on the BJP-led government, Prime Minister Modi, etc. So overall, across the spectrum of Indian political spectrum, everybody has criticized this move, that it was out of place. The ultimate responsibility lies with Imphal, the capital of Manipur, and Delhi. So that's it. Union versus the artificial intelligence. Hollywood strike to protect writers and actors in age of tech shows what star power can render. Fine. So main thing, I think we should just take out the main theme. Generative AI. Generative AI, chat GPT, etc. And in fact, these days you can also have, like, somebody can actually take my photo and make me do things. I'm not doing it, but somebody else can do it. So they could be models, etc. also who are speaking for simulation. You must have seen Saurav Ganguly, Saurav Ganguly or Amitabh Bachchan speaking to every single person. So they're not actually doing it, but they are use of artificial intelligence. So text. So this have raised concern about jobs. This has raised concerns about plagiarism. Data is being collected and then original data, and that is being managed. So there are certain ethical concerns associated with it. So those have to be looked into. China recently made a policy on the generative AI. Initially, they were very critical of this thing. Now they have a soft policy on this, that is to promote generative AI. So, yeah, I'm not reading this. Ram Madhav, European Parliament's resolution on Manipur in bad taste. Success of Chandrayaan 3 could result in big boost to ISRO profile. Same thing is repeated again and again. Capital ebb and flow. Center's Delhi Ordinance. What was the Delhi Ordinance? National Civil Services Authority. So an authority was created within the city of Delhi for the appointments and transfers of civil servants. Right. So this was done. This authority will comprise of the Chief Minister of Delhi plus Home Secretary plus Chief Secretary. So three bureaucrats would be two bureaucrats and one Chief Minister. On basis of majority, they will take decisions on transfer, removal, etc. for civil servants in Delhi. Now this was done via an ordinance of the Parliament. So this is being now will be questioned in the heard in the Supreme Court. This has been challenged by the Delhi government. Coming to the international section, the world page. So same things. Putin says he offered Wagner option to keep up its operations as a single unit. Okay. So basically, what all are transpired between the two Putin and the Wagner group. So Wagner group had led a mutiny against the Putin's defense minister and the army chief. Eventually, the Russian president prevailed, and the Wagner group, its head, was forced to move to Brussels. Now demilitarization is taking place. Their weapons, etc., have been taken away and submitted to Russian armed forces. A interesting development concerning the Solomon Islands. So there is some sort of a deal between China and Solomon Islands. That is, China will provide policing like normal police functions plus traffic management, etc., to Solomon Islands. That means there will be presence of the Chinese on the Solomon Island region. So Solomon Islands is north of Australia in the Pacific region. They're very close to it. So there will be Chinese presence. That is the main issue. And it also indicates that the Solomon and Chinese are getting very close. So this is causing discomfort amongst countries like Australia and New Zealand. And Australia and China relations have not been very good. In fact, they have been very bad. So this is there. So Australia is going to take it up with the Solomon authorities as well as the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Okay. Now the Solomon Island people, they are saying two things. One is that there is nothing like this with China, and the other thing is that it is not clear as to how the presence of the Chinese on the Solomon soil is going to affect security of the Pacific region. So there are two things that have been stated. Next, we come to the economy section. So India, UK, FTA. So free trade agreement means easy trade between India and UK. Okay. So initially UK was part of the European Union. So any trade that was to be take place would have been through the European Union only. Now after the Brexit, UK is separate, EU is separate. So India is looking to have a India as well as UK is looking to have a free trade agreement, preferential trade basically. So India and UK look to close the FTA talks on 5 chapters with contentious issues. So talks on 14 out of 26 chapters, or 14 out of 26 things have been closed. The 5 chapters which are contentious, they're going to discuss it. That's all. Main things would be UK wants concessions from India, India wants concessions from UK, like farmer issue, farmers patent issue, automobile sector. So UK would want that India should provide tax exemptions to automobile, not give subsidy to the farmers, pharmaceutical companies' interest, patents. So compulsory licensing should not be there. These are the common issues. Next, we come to exports plunge 22% in June, steepest in last 3 years. Right? So exports have fallen down. So that's the main thing. WPI inflation falls for third month. So previously we heard about the CPI inflation. Now we're talking about the WPI inflation has fallen for the third month. It is at 3.48%. So WPI inflation only comprises of good. It is at the inflation at the wholesale level. Normally inflation that is at WPI level eventually translates into the CPI. It is transferred onto the consumer. Okay. Key Russian crude tops G7 price cap. India supplies may see muted impact. So what is this G7 price cap first of all? So G7 is the group of industrialized countries. So they have put a price cap. That is, if the price of crude goes beyond a certain threshold, certain limit, then that crude cannot travel onto the Western shipments and use of Western insurance services, etc. So this limit is $60 per barrel. It has gone beyond this. So the crude cannot go onto the Western ships, Western insurance companies, cargoes, etc. So Russian crude for the first time has breached the $60 per barrel mark. Right, so this was an arrangement that you can buy Russian oil, but it should not go beyond this level if you're supplying it to us. So it has gone past. Previously, we heard that OPEC nations as well as OPEC Plus are looking to cut down supply of oil so that the prices of oil is maintained. So they want to keep maintain higher prices so that they profit because they are the oil exporting companies. So now Russian crude has come to $60 per barrel. Previously, during the Ukraine war, they were selling it, even still it is going on, they were selling it at deep discounts. So that deep discounts are also fading away. Chinese company BYD, we know they're automobile company. So they submits $1 billion plan to build EVs, batteries in India. Okay, fine. I think this is self-explanatory. So this is there. Besides this, something from science and tech, they are also working on sodium ion batteries. So lithium is expensive, difficult to source. So they are working on sodium ion batteries. Sodium, obviously salt, etc., easily available. Next, we have the explained section. I'm not doing this. You can just look. We can just stop at this image over here. Right. This is the image of the Mughal times, when the Jamuna River used to flow. So the British had filled this up. Now again, the water is flowing through the same region. So this is it for today's analysis. Tomorrow we'll not be doing it. I have a class early in the morning. So